Everyone stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Citizen comments. We'll move on to citizen comments. Is there anybody wishing to speak? Anybody wishing to speak? Anybody wishing to speak? Citizen comments is closed. Announcements that I have, just a reminder that this week is budget hearings on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. We've all been emailed all the times and who's going to be presenting at what time. And it'd be good and prudent of you to make those meetings if you can, to ask questions on those particular items where you want to have your answers to your questions answered, rather. And that's all I have for right now. Move on to supervisor reports. Oops. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two things very quickly from Human Services. First, we will meet tomorrow afternoon to go over our Human Services budget. I know we had a small scheduling snafu. We're meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the Job Center, the area that used to be the Child Care Center, which is next door to the room North 2, if I'm not mistaken. So that meeting, I know that Finance meets tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Our goal is to hopefully be done. If not, we're under certainly no pressure to take as much time as we need to do the job that we are required to do. The second thing that I want to make members aware of is I'm sure all of you have been CC'd on the round of emails from our health department about Ebola. Nancy Reeves over in the health department, who I believe is the secretary for our director of health, has been working to try to schedule a meeting specifically about Ebola for county board supervisors as well as the healthcare executives in our area from our hospital systems and the community health center. I don't believe she's nailed down a date and a time as of yet. So once that gets finalized, I will try to send that out to you and make sure you all are in on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a short report on the budget process. We did have from Public Works and Golf and Facilities our meeting last Monday, sent on the budget as presented to the Finance Committee. And I want to remind everyone, and I reminded my committee that evening, that that is your first shot at debating and discussing your budget is at your committee meetings. And you have 3 total. You have also, as you said, Mr. Chairman, attending the finance meetings if you have questions. If you do have questions, each division has a finance person, and you can also always contact Mr. Gersten and Al Schwartz if you have any questions. And then your third attempt at inquiries and voting is naturally when the county board approves the budget. So I also urge everyone to attend anything that they have questions on, and it helps the process for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Elverman. County Clerk.
County Executive appointment, Ray Arbit to serve as the Director of Kenosha County Department of Public Works and Development Services.
Usually I would refer this to Public Works and Facilities.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to suspend the rules on this appointment.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. Supervisor Alverman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Arbit, a few things that I'll say is, for one, he's a known asset to Kenosha County. We have had him as the director of Department of Public Works in the past. He did an exemplary job in that position. The resume, I'm sure that you all received, for those of you that don't know him, saw the projects that he handled for Kenosha County in that term in the position. There's a couple of reasons I've moved to suspend the rules. I don't usually agree with that, but in this case, the committee is more than likely not going to come back with a different recommendation. We've had this position unfilled basically for 2 years. Our department heads have had double the work some mornings, having to fill in, not only doing their jobs, but also doing the planning and facilitating all the movements of the department. We have 2 department heads that are considering retirement in the next year and a half to 2 years, possibly a year. We have to work in filling those positions, and we also need to be training people in those positions. I mentioned, and it's not at all the most important reason, when the Kenosha News was asking me, I mentioned the Brookside project. Well, what the director normally does is naturally spearhead our major projects, and if you look at Mr. Arbit's resume, that's what he did for us in the past. That's what he'll do for us in the future. So on an evening where we are in need of a person in that position, we have someone with Mr. Arbit's qualifications willing and able to come back and fill that position. I would urge that we move this approval this evening. We would be looking at Mr. Arbit, I believe, being able to come and begin with the county sometime in December. I don't know if he could possibly be sooner, but we certainly need that position filled. We need someone with his qualifications. It took us 13 months the last time to find someone to replace him, and that, as you all know, did not last for very long. So I would ask for your approval this evening, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Alverman. So the motion to suspend the rules has been moved by Supervisor Alverman. It's been seconded by Vice Chair Bruning. Now what we need to do is, it's a non-debatable issue. What we need to have is a roll call vote. It requires 2/3 to suspend the rules. And then after that, if it passes, it has a simple majority for moving on and the appointment of the county executive to move forward. So if you're in favor of suspending the rules, vote yes. If you're against suspending the rules, vote no. State your question to Corporation Counsel, Supervisor Noble.
If this was non-debatable, what was all that talk that Supervisor Elverman was just giving in support of? It seems to me like we should have equal time here if we're against suspending the rules.
Well, when I suspended the rules last time, I was asked of why we did suspend the rules, and I think basically he gave a pretty clear example of why suspending rules in this particular case. If you don't feel comfortable...
This question was to Corporation Counsel. To me, he's already started the debate.
Okay. Counsel, you want to answer that?
There is no, point of order or anything else raised, so that's why Supervisor Elmerman continued. It is not a debatable motion.
Thank you.
The motion to suspend the rules is passed. Works and Human Services.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved by Supervisor Alverman, seconded by Supervisor Gentz. All those in favor say aye.
Wait,
Oh,
this is
okay.
debatable,
Okay,
isn't it? I
wait,
got my
yeah,
light on.
All right. Sorry, I apologize, okay? Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right. I don't want these remarks construed to mean that I'm in opposition to Mr. Arbit. I think he did a fine job in the past, but I see no necessity here for a rush to judgment or a quick determination on an important position. He isn't going to start this position until December. This is October 21st, so there's certainly adequate time for the committee to review the appointment, as we do in all situations, and bring it back before the next county board for a decision. He has formerly served in county government. I think that one of the things the committee would certainly want to do is to review the record. We see in the resolution here what his salary is, but we don't know what the benefits are. These are the kinds of things that one reviews at committee. And while we can endorse and praise Mr. Arbert's past performance, I am not blind to the fact that things need to be done in an orderly process here. We have a standard procedure to review important issues. We suspend the rules when there is an emergency. Time dictates that we act promptly, and I see no rush to judgment this evening, particularly when the job is not going to be fulfilled until December. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move to refer the appointment back to the appropriate committee for review and consideration.
Second.
It's been moved by Supervisor Rose and seconded by Supervisor Noble to refer it back to committee. Okay, this is debatable. Would you like to speak, Supervisor Noble?
Yes, I would. I agree with Supervisor Rose. I want to also point out that I believe in the process, which the process is, our process, which we just suspended the rules, is to send it to committee and ask the questions. Those of you that have served with committees know that I ask questions. I am prepared to ask the questions tonight if that's what it's going to turn out to be. However, I also want to point out that about 3 meetings ago, Supervisor Johnson, Ron Johnson, who's had 30 years of continuous service as a county supervisor, there was a vote to suspend the rules for him to serve on the Brookside board. I also voted against suspending the rules for Ron Johnson. So I have been consistent on that. I was the only one who voted to suspend the rules. I believe in the process. If you don't follow the process, pretty soon you're going to find yourself cutting corners. We don't need to begin cutting corners. Now, I have questions. That's all I'm going to say for now. If this continues on, I'll ask the questions here, open mic, TV, and everything. But I'd rather do it in committee. Thank you.
It's your privilege. You still willing to talk, Supervisor Gans? Supervisor Sklisky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
State your point. No, this is debatable. Yes. They're making a motion to refer it back to committee, and per Corporation Council, it is debatable. Continue, I'm sorry, Supervisor Sklisky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Although I supported the suspension of rules, I do appreciate everything that Supervisor Rose had brought up, because I didn't realize that the position was not going to be filled till December. I agree that the committee is where questions are asked. I have a lot of experience working with Mr. Arbit and have the utmost of respect for the work he has done. However, to Supervisor Ellman's point, We've been looking for 13 months. We had somebody, they're left, and all of a sudden, the same individual's back. I'd like to kind of get a little bit better understanding of perhaps why. And will this, we don't need to have a revolving door. We need some stability in the public works function. So I'm going to support Supervisor Rowe's motion to move this back to committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Skolitsky. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not in favor of referring this back to committee. I understand the wisdom behind doing such. Sometimes I think we can be a little too addicted to process sometimes when it is not always in our best interests. This gentleman has a great relationship with our county executive, with us. Certainly all of our other top administrators have spoken very well of him. He brings his own style of dress to the job, which I personally like. And he's engaged a number of us on particular things that we were curious about in the area of public works. So I don't see a reason why we should delay, but I am a bit curious as to why it is that he left us, although I'm extraordinarily glad to see him back. I'm a bit hesitant to ask him to come to the mic and say why in such a public forum, but certainly that question is on all of our minds, not just mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Kohlmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Given that there's potentially one or more supervisors that have potentially serious questions, I'd like to send this back to committee, just as you pointed out, that get the questions answered. I have no issues with Mr. Arbit myself. I think they did a fine job, but I think we should do it the right way in this case. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor Kohlmeyer. Anybody else wishing to speak? Roll call requested. Okay, roll call requested. Yes, if you're in favor of referring it back to committee. No, if you're against referring it back to committee.
Supervisor Retzloff.
Motion made by Supervisor Alverman. We got the lights of the world here. Let's clear this. We're going to say yes if you're in favor of the confirmation this evening, or no if you're not in favor of the confirmation this evening of. Supervisor Noble, state your question, please.
All right, to Mr. Arbit, if he would please come to the podium. First of all, I do respect the job that you did, in your last tour of duty with the county. However, I have some questions that I think need to be asked. One is, when you left, you said something to the effect that your heart was with manufacturing and that's why you left. Where is your heart now? What is the change of heart? Is your heart still with manufacturing?
Fair question. I don't think the specific thing I said was that my heart was with manufacturing. I said I missed manufacturing, and I did. And I really enjoy it. I like what I'm doing right now. But I really enjoyed what I did at the county, and that's the one thing that's kind of come clear to me. When I broke the news to the owners of Bradshaw, they really didn't want me to leave. They don't want me to leave. I've really had fun. The 2 years I've been there, we've done a heck of a lot. We've completely changed the corporate culture. We've put in all kinds of systems that have improved the manufacturing processes and everything that takes place there right now. Bradshaw I'm not taking credit for this, it was the entire organization, but Bradshaw was recently awarded the CABA and Chamber Business of the Year. There's still plenty of things to do at Bradshaw, But the bottom line is, when the county exec approached me and laid out what some of the projects were probably going to be on the table that needed to be addressed, I feel that I've grown up, my dad's farm's out in the county in Paris here. I'm a member of the community. This will be my 4th tour of duty with the county. Every time that I've worked for the county, I've really enjoyed the aspect of public service. That may sound corny to some folks, it's the truth. And that's the one thing that I miss working in the private sector. I've really come at this stage of my life to understand that when you do stuff working for the county, the types of projects that you're responsible for are projects that are going to have an impact on the community 10, 20, 30, 40 years out, long after I'm gone. And I really think that I really try to manage projects and bring to the table an integrity that we really get the best project put together, get the best value for it, and get it in place. A lot of the stuff that I saw in the past, I felt things could have been done a little better, and I tried to bring that to the table. So I don't know if that's a long answer. Hopefully it's a long answer to a short question, but hopefully it answers the question.
No, I was looking for a long answer. I want to be convinced that your heart's going to be with us for a tour of duty that's going to be longer than 2 or 3 years.
At this point, I plan on this being the place that I retire from. I really do. I'm 54 years old, and I'm at a point in my life where, you know, if it was all about cash, I would want to stay in the private sector. There's no doubt about that. It's a very fine opportunity from a compensation standpoint, but the reality is if I stay in the private sector, it will be much more lucrative. That's not what drives me. It's never what's driven me. People that know me, a lot of you on the board that have worked with me over the years, know that's not how I'm wired. Bottom line is, I feel that I really can help with some important projects that are before the county over the next few years. There's a number of key department heads that are nearing retirement that have 40 years apiece experience. We've got to develop succession plans for those folks and make sure we can continue smooth operations of a number of the departments. I think I can help with that stuff. I know those individuals, and I know the departments. I think I can help put some of that stuff together.
And as far as your comment about the corny, I think every one of us here are involved with government for the same corny reasons, because we think we can make a difference and do something better. Okay, my final question. Some other supervisor brought up style of dress. You know that is one of my pet peeves. You and I met on the street and had a laugh about it. And it was funny then because you weren't a county employee. But now you're back again, and you're one of only 4 county employees that we get to confirm their vote. And frankly, I feel that you came to committee meetings like you just fell off the turnip truck. Blue jeans almost every single meeting, rolled up shirt, you know, like a foreman maybe would wear. You're the director of public works. We have youth and governance program at these meetings, and I think we need to set an example for these kids at these meetings. I feel like I need to set an example, and I would like to think that you do too. So how are you going to be dressing for committee meetings and the like?
With all due respect, Supervisor Noble, the method that I dress, I always wear a tie, regardless of the situation. I always dress in a casual business manner, in how I define it anyways, and I think it makes me more approachable. So I think from an employee relations standpoint, for me to project an image of authority, that's not who I am. I want, regardless of the person's station, I think anybody will tell you, whether I was dealing with an entry-level custodian or the supervisor of a department, I treated all those folks with the same level of respect. The way I dress reflects that. So I'm still going to wear jeans. I did specifically wear Dockers tonight because I figured you would be here and I'd want you to see me in Dockers. My wife even recommended it because for that reason. But I am what I am. When I was at Bradshaw, they had a dress code too, and it was one of the questions that we talked about. I dressed the same way. I had jeans, and Again, didn't matter who I was talking to. Could be the president of the corporation, or it could be an entry-level person out in the shop. I don't want to project that image of authority. I don't try to be disrespectful. I never have holes or anything like that. Falling off the turnip truck, I grew up on a farm. So maybe that's a fair statement. But I am what I am in that regard. I mean, no disrespect to anybody.
So in other words, you're saying you're going to continue to come to the meeting in blue jeans?
Yes, I would.
Well, what about if the governor's in town and you're doing a groundbreaking? You're going to show up for the meeting in blue jeans? I mean, where do we draw the line?
Let's get on to whether or not you'd like to ask my direct question.
Well, I think I heard what I
versus
need to hear.
address.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Skalitsky, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And hi, Ray, how you doing? Mike, you had made a comment, and that was one of the questions that I have now. This is your fourth stint, okay? You've been employed, you've left, you've come back, you've left, okay. Why is this time going to be different? And I know you kind of alluded to it, but given the fact that there's been this bridge of time, quite frankly, hasn't really been filled because we had somebody there temporarily, and now you're back. I'm glad you're back, but why is this going to be different? And I've worked at other companies too, so I mean, I understand about the allure of a new challenge. Can you maybe allude for the rest of the supervisors here why this is the time you stay, and we don't have to go through this process another time? And your point also, you've got a couple directors that are getting close, and we need the succession plan, and we need some stability in that area.
That's a key piece of it right there. Is I knew that the highway and parks, both those guys are at a point in their career where they could retire at any time. And I know that there isn't a strong succession plan. There isn't any succession plan right now in place. I feel that I can help put that together and bridge the gap if we aren't able to find somebody right away to fill those positions, just with the knowledge I bring and the experience, I guess. Why am I going to stay? I'm at a stage in my life. My kids, I've got my last kid is going to be graduating from high school this year. 2 are already out of school. Both are attending graduate school. I'm at a stage in my life where I went back to manufacturing. I got totally reinvigorated, got connected to all the latest technology, all the latest geeky stuff that I like to get involved with, some of which is transferable to what I can do at the county. I got reinvigorated, accomplished a number of significant things. I'm ready to come. What I told Jim was I'm ready to come back home. So that's where I'm at.
That's great. And I do hope you will instill some of those private sector lean principles, if you would, to government. Those are always excellent changes that can take place. So now let's just hypothetically say Kendall Manufacturing comes knocking on your door through a recruiter. We really need you. We need you for the vice president or the presidency position. What precludes you from potentially, again, leaving the county to go back to manufacturing? Because you do have a certain affinity for that, and I commend you for that. But we're looking at the bigger picture of the counties and having that stability. What is that thing that's going to keep you back in your position for Public Works?
I can never say, I can't look in the eye and tell you I'm going to stay here forever. My goal right now is to stay here to at least age 60. I'm 54. That's at least age 60, maybe beyond. But I don't plan on doing anything for the next 6 years.
Okay, so we can count on you, and we've got your word at least for 6 years.
You got it on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Arbit.
Is that all, Supervisor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Gens.
Thank you. I really didn't want to have to speak on this, but the stability that Ray will provide is just, we can't even measure it. And I've worked with him a number of years on a number of different projects, and his quality and character are top of the line. I've worked with a lot of department heads at both the city and the county, and he's one of the best I've ever worked with. So we can debate this till we're blue in the face, but I'm telling you, get him in there. December was mentioned. Maybe we can bring him in earlier, but I think he'll do a great job. I gave him bleep when he left, and I was very disappointed, so I am happy to welcome him back. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Arrington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real briefly, I think that it's important that we remind this body that when we vote, and that we voted not to send this back to committee, for us to duplicate a miniature committee meeting on this floor does not respect the vote. We voted not to send it back to committee. Now, we've given this man questions as if he's sitting in committee right now, and we're not in committee. And I think it's very unfair, and it's professionally rude of us to question this man about how he's going to dress and et cetera. Is there a dress code? Do we have a dress code for him to follow? With that point taken, I think that the man is due his respect. We voted to vote on this tonight, and we need to get out of that habit of trying to push and force our own personal agendas when the body has voted not to send this back to committee. It's not professional of us as supervisors to duplicate a miniature committee meeting in a full-scale Kenosha County Board meeting. It's a waste of our time. We said we were not going to send it back to committee, but we're going to duplicate a committee meeting here on the floor. I'm embarrassed for us for doing that. And that's respectful to my other two supervisors. Your intentions may be good, but we voted not to send it back. So I don't know why we continue to proceed and go forward with questioning this man about how he dressed and using comparisons to falling off of turnip trucks. I apologize to you, sir. You do not deserve to stand at a podium and be disrespected like that. I do not like that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Arrington. Supervisor Ritzloff.
Yes, I'd like to comment on what Supervisor Arrington just said. Someday, go to the state legislature and see how they do that. When they suspend the rules, they all agree, and then when it goes to debate, all hell breaks out because the minority party, if you will, or the party that's not for that, was not allowed the opportunity to have that go to a committee and vote. So it's not unusual in parliamentary procedures when rules are suspended that there's going to be some anxiety from the people that weren't for that. That's extremely common. So unfortunately, it did sound a little disrespectful, but that was when someone elects to suspend the rules, that's what happens, is you are asking for it to be out on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Ritzloff. All right, seeing no more lights. Oh, you want to speak one more time there, Supervisor Noble?
Yes.
You have the floor.
I just want to speak to that point. I would say that Supervisor Retzlaff is totally accurate. Normally, when you suspend the rules, a huge debate ensues. It's actually been fairly quiet around here when we suspend the rules. I would have, and I said, I would rather discuss this in committee. Let's follow the process. I damn near begged people to follow the process. Those of you that decided not to follow the process are really the ones who should be questioning themselves, in my opinion, because this is what happens when you don't follow the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Noble. All right. Okay, well, this, I think, has been fully vetted. It's a simple majority vote. We have a roll call was requested. Yes, if you're in favor of the county executive appointment of Raymond Arbit to serve as Director of Kenosha County Development of Public Works and Development Services, or no if you're not in favor of it. County Clerk.
Ordinance 23, first reading to required from Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding proposed amendments in the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreland Floodplain Zoning Ordinance in accordance with Section 59.694 of the Wisconsin State Statutes in order to be in compliance with the makeup and terms of the Board of Adjustments. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble?
No, it gets referred.
Oh, I'm sorry. That,
We're done.
that has to be referred to Planning, Development, Extension, and Education Committee.
It's just too required, sorry.
Yeah, that's too required, that's right. We'll go on to ordinance, sorry about that.
24, from Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding R&R Voss Properties LLP owner, Ronald Voss agent, requesting a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District to A1 Agricultural Preservation District and A2 General Agricultural District in the town of Wheatland. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Retzloff, yes. Gable, yes.
Supervisor Noble?
I move ordinance number 24.
Ordinance 24 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Noble.
R&R Voss Properties in Wheatland is a rezoning. This property is located on the south side of County Highway JB, which is 31st Street, approximately 300 feet west of the intersection of County Highway J, 312th Avenue. The rezoning would allow for a smaller property that will then allow the farm to be divided into equally between two brothers. The town of Wheatland recommended approval of the request.
Okay, seeing no lights, this is a simple majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 58, from Finance Administration Committee, a resolution for cancellation of tax certificates, interest and penalties under Section 75.105 to remediate pollution under rules of Wisconsin DNR. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day excused. Burnick excused. Dodge, yes. Gens, yes. Colmeyer, yes.
Supervisor Rose.
I would move the resolution on behalf of the committee.
Resolution 58 has been moved by Supervisor Rose, seconded by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. This resolution was brought to us by the county treasurer and the corporation council in preparation. This involves what was used to be the Frank Wells Company on Fifth Avenue in downtown Kenosha, which has been dormant and deteriorating for years and unoccupied as a factory. An organization called Keno Wells Limited Liability Company, a group formed by the Bear Realty, proposes to construct housing there in the form of apartments. This has been very well publicized in the Kenosha News, and perhaps you have read about it. As part of that, there are significant environmental costs involved. This is an old company with numerous environmental issues, asbestos issues, which need to be addressed. On your desk, you will find a list of those environmental and asbestos-type issues, including soil remediation and contamination. They total over $1,200,000. And you will see that there are various grants that they are going to receive from state or federal government in the amount of $650,000. Now, the statutes do provide that in such a situation, the county can forgive any taxes which might be due on such property which has been laying dormant for years. You will see on your desk that there is a list of those taxes which total some $41,928.40. Additionally, there are some special assessments of over $25,000 which are not involved in this resolution. Those special assessments still must be paid, and it is only the real estate taxes which the committee was told and is endorsed the forgiveness of as part of the effort to encourage the remediation of blighted property and to have something positive come out of a negative development. So what is before you this evening, and this is entirely discretionary on the part of this board. We need not do this, but we have done it in the past. And what we are being asked this evening to do is to forgive the $41,928.40. Now, as part of the resolution, you will see language there that talks about a letter of credit being deposited, so that in the event that this building it never becomes constructed, the soil isn't remediated, the asbestos isn't removed, we are not in that event forgiving the taxes. So this is a conditional resolution, and that's what the letter of credit is all about. It's a deposit with the bank, so that in that event that they don't fulfill the promise, we have money available to restore and repay the $41,928.40. This was reviewed by the committee. The committee endorsed it unanimously. We're asking for your endorsement here this evening.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. I see no lights. This is a simple, oh, we do have a light. Supervisor Decker.
Through the chair, is there a reason why these taxes weren't paid?
Because people don't pay them.
Supervisor Rose, would you like to answer that?
I can only speculate that the prior owners, the property was foreclosed, it went to a bank, and they were never paid. And this LLC, which was formed by the Bear organization, stepped in, purchased the property, and now the tax issue is before you. I say it's discretionary. You do not need to forgive it, but the statutes do allow it in such a situation.
So, okay, so that's just speculation. So when this was purchased, and these weren't cleared up through the title service?
We have the county treasurer here. I think she can clarify a lot of those questions for us if we could.
It doesn't necessarily happen. If you don't get title insurance and you don't want a clean title necessarily, it doesn't always happen that way. In this case, they were buying a contaminated property, so they paid the taxes that were due after they purchased it. They paid the 2013 taxes, which is why they're not on their list. So when they took ownership, they paid the current year's taxes. The other taxes were from when Wells had ownership of the property. As to why that company did, much like Supervisor Rose, I would say it was a failing company. They were having a hard time meeting payroll. They didn't pay the taxes, so that's what happened. You want to comment on that? So that's as much as.
And this did not get cleared up with the title insurance?
No. It's not required. Title insurance is not required, and it's not necessarily required to pay back taxes through a title search. If they want title insurance, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Anita Johnson.
I'm just wondering if somebody can tell me how a company goes about applying for this, how this one came before us as compared to other companies that come in and buy property that might have contaminated soil. What process is there for this to get here?
In statute, all they have to do is write a letter to us at the county and request us to look at that situation, and then we bring it to all of you, and then we look at it. So far, in the 12 years I've been here, I think the statute's only been on the books probably 10 years, okay. Bernie. In my 12 years, we've only had 2 so far. So why more don't come, I don't know.
I guess what I'm wondering is, well, we probably don't know, but was this possibility incentive for them buying the property? Do we know? No. I was just wondering if we know if this was an incentive for them to buy the property.
Yes, that was part of it when we, Bear Development, when we purchased the property or looked to purchase it, there was back taxes from Frank Wells abandoned the property, and the bank was reluctant to foreclose on it because of the environmental issues. So there's no one there to actually pay the taxes. So when we came in, we looked for as many sources as possible to help recoup the extra $1.2 million in costs that we wouldn't have if we had a clean site to be able to redevelop it.
Okay.
Is that all?
Yep.
Okay. Supervisor Esposito, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I guess my question is, you buy a property, whether in foreclosure or not, you should get a free and clear title. There's taxes that are left out there, whether it's, I know it's not Bear Realty's taxes, it's Frank Wells' taxes. Can somebody explain to me how this, and I think this is what Supervisor Decker wanted to know, how this transferred title to a different company, and it wasn't a free and clear title because there were obviously a liability of taxes out there. That's what's kind of confusing to me. My next question is, why wasn't this bank liable to pay these taxes? I mean, I get the whole environmental issue, but the issue is you transferred a property and a deed and a title, and you got it not free and clear because there's an incumbents on it. Right. And somebody needs to explain to me, because I'm really, really in the dark on this, and I understand the concept very clearly, that how you were able to change this title, and Kenosha County didn't receive these taxes, not allegedly from Keno LLC. I don't believe they're liable, but in some summits they are because they bought the property, but that should have been paid before this transfer of deed took place. So can you explain that to me, please?
When we acquired the property, we acquired it, the bank was unwilling to foreclose, so what we did to acquire the property is buy the note from the bank and then foreclose and purchase the property in a sheriff's sale, as is, with all encumbrances on it without title. We knew the existing property taxes were there, but we're hoping to find a way to redevelop this and find sources of funds to be able to offset the additional costs that we would have to redevelop the property.
Every day when something is sold at title at sheriff's sale, if there are back taxes on it, it stays with the property.
I understand that, but nobody said it was sold at sheriff's sale. That changes the game. Never once did I hear a sheriff's sale in the last 20 minutes of debate, but you answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Supervisor Esposito. Supervisor Gantz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we please have the individual from Bear Realty's name and address for the record, number one?
Yes, sir. Josh Molter, M-O-L-T-E-R, and the address is 4011 80th Street in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I see no reason at this point not to forgive these taxes to get that development there. I think if you look at the big picture, it'll definitely enhance the area. I mean, whether you're for or against the project, I know there was debates in the paper, but at this point, just this tax forgiveness is before us. And I think if you look at the remediation by itself, and then putting a positive development on there, I think far outweighs the amount of taxes we would get back. So it made sense to me at the committee. It makes sense to me now. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gauss. Supervisor Skolitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, I was wondering, is there any city back taxes that are still languishing out there, and have they been forgiven?
The special assessments that Terry spoke of on there are owed to the city. They're not owed to the county. We don't buy out special assessments. And also statutorily, we're not allowed to forgive those, which is why they're not included in this resolution. When we hold those taxes of $41,000 and change, a portion of that at one point was owed to the city, but as soon as we settle with them every year in August, we buy out their share of those taxes. So the city currently is not owed any money. They were paid long ago when we had to settle every year for those taxes. So all of that money is owed to the county at this point.
Okay, because I concur with Supervisor Gantz. It's good to have some development downtown, especially on 4th and 5th Avenue, but I don't want the county to just be the only one left forgiving back taxes. On the other hand, I understand. Thank you for your explanation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Skolitsky. Supervisor Ron Frederick, you have the floor.
Through the chair to Mr. from Bear, did the city forgive the specials?
It's actually not allowed under the state statute for tax forgiveness.
You have to pay them then, huh?
We actually will pay the county, I believe, because the county has paid those special assessments previously.
We didn't pick them up, though, did we? The specials, we didn't pick them up. We can't. I know we can't. We changed that a few years ago. We used to pay water bills, I remember that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, this is a simple majority vote.
Roll call requested.
Roll call's been requested. Yes if you're in favor, no if you're against the resolution before you.
Law Committees, a resolution for disbursement of funds for joint service software project manager. Finance and Administration, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day excused. Gentz, yes. Colmeyer excused. Brunick excused. Dodge, yes. Judiciary and Law, Esposito, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Arrington excused. Ron Johnson excused. Blau excused. Poole, yes.
Supervisor Rose.
Mr. Chairman, I would move the resolution.
Resolution 59 has been moved by Supervisor Rose, seconded by Supervisor Esposito. Supervisor Rose.
The committee endorsed the resolution before you. Previously, the board authorized the issuance of $1.7 million of general obligation notes for the public safety software project. In another resolution, the board has required that when the software is going to be approved or money is going to be dispersed from that $1.7 million, the particular expenditure must come to this board for prior approval before expenditure. Thus, this evening, this resolution is asking that $300,000 of that $1.7 million authorized be used and allocated for a project manager. The project manager would have the responsibility of negotiating contracts, planning, installation, and testing through final acceptance in the software project budget. This person would not be a county employee, but would be a contract employee, who I understand would be paid I believe $95 an hour. It was reported to the committee, and this is the maximum amount of money that has been allocated for that particular position, which they anticipate would last approximately a year and a half. It is not necessary that the total amount would necessarily be spent, but this would be the amount that would be set aside for that purpose.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. I see no lights at this time. Simple majority vote. All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed. Passes unanimously. County Clerk.
Resolution 60 from Planning Development Extension Education Committee regarding request for an amendment to the final plat of Woodhaven Meadows subdivision regarding the removal and revision of the preservation easement from certain areas of the existing subdivision outlet and to show the outlet area to be deeded to the town of Salem. Noble, yes. Decker, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Gable, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Noble.
I move resolution number 60.
Resolution 60 has been moved by Supervisor Noble, seconded by Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Noble.
This item would approve an amendment of the final plat of the Woodhaven Meadows subdivision to remove and revise the preservation easement from certain areas of the existing subdivision outlet lot and to show the outlet area to be needed to the town of Salem. This document corrects a previously submitted a resolution for this final plat. The references to the current developer in paragraph 3 on page 1 has been revised, and revisions regarding meeting dates have been made to paragraph 2 on page 2. So basically, there were a couple typos in the original resolution that we've already voted on. The Planning and Development and Extension Education Committee reviewed this item at their meeting on October 8th and recommends approval of the resolution.
Thank you, Supervisor Noble. I see no lights in this time. Vote yes if you're in favor, no if you're against. All those in favor? All those opposed? Roll call on that. Six. Yeah, it passed unanimously. County Clerk, go on to 61, please.
Resolution 61 from Public Works Facility and Finance Administration Committees to approve acceptance of $10,000 grant from the Wisconsin Division of Energy Services to purchase and install LED lighting at Kenosha County facilities. Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Galitsky, yes. Poole, yes. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. O'Day excused. Colmeyer, yes. Gens, yes. Brunig excused. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Alverman.
Thank you. I'd move Resolution 61.
Resolution 61 has been moved by Supervisor Alverman, seconded by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Alverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a grant that we received from the State Energy Office, and it is for LED lighting upgrades. If you look at the end of your packet, it will show the savings. It's a sheet after the resolution. Show the savings that we will receive. This is for 4 campus locations, and they are named it. It's an immense savings, and this is a grant because of the plan that we put forward and submitted to the state. So this is a very good energy savings and a good savings for the county.
Thank you, Supervisor Alverman. I see no lights at this time. This is a budget modification. Roll call has been requested. Yes if you're in favor, no if you're against, please.
Communications for Andy Ambula regarding future items scheduled before the Planning Development Extension Education Committee.
Move to receive and file.
Claims 24, Tammy S. Martin, Felon Courthouse.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the minutes from the October 7th, 2014 meeting by Supervisor Arrington.
Supervisor Arrington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the minutes for the October 7th meeting of 2014.
It's been moved and seconded by Supervisor. It's been moved by Supervisor Arrington, seconded by Supervisor Esposito. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Supervisor John O'Day, seconded by Supervisor David Arrington. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Have a good evening.